Hello, in this video we're going to discuss Yorky the Black Knight from Kent Part 6. Satan's influence on the Tudors in Wales caused them as a kingdom to always cause trouble. So they're constantly fighting with France and England and Scotland. With England, with King George the Second, they were constantly having to fight Wales. In Wales, the Tudors adopted a Wiccan and witch society around castles and across the land. So Wiccan and witch culture also includes human sacrifices and torturing innocent people, and mostly picking on Christians. They were constantly squabbling with King George II and Queen Victoria. When Queen Victoria died, the Tudors moved in and called themselves the Windsors. But there was an atrocity that occurred on that day. We'll cover that in a later video. The Jesuit priests are from Wales, and they're Wiccans. So they were sent around to pretend to be priests that point out a person who's a Christian, and then they'd round up that entire family and drown them and torture them and kill them and rape them. So Yorky went into Wales and found the monastery where the Jesuit priests live and killed them. There were a few people that joined the Jesuits and thought that they'd be a priest, and then find out to their horror that they were actually forced to be Wiccans. So Yorky's mission involving Satan is to intimidate Satan and torture and kill Satan all the time. So Satan would possess people and then come into Kent, and then Yorky would know through Center, the spy agency in heaven, would notify Yorky where in fact Satan was. Yorky would show up and torture and kill the person that Satan possessed, and through the Holy Spirit Satan wouldn't be able to uncouple from that person, and he would experience the horrific torture that that person went through. So that was part of Yorky's mission. And Satan tried all sorts. He even possessed children, and they came across into Kent. And I just point out that in the cases where it's innocent people that were getting killed by Yorky and some of the others, it was always the innocent person replaced with an Aaron chassis. Otherwise, the Archangel would wind up in purgatory for doing it. In a lot of cases, the king would command Yorky to do some horrific things, and he'd have to go and do it. This involved one incident where Yorky's squire Squiddy said something about someday the land here will be poisoned by the wicked, or words to that effect. And King George II was right there and was not impressed by the comment, and had Yorky cut Squiddy's nose off. So that was one of the bad things that Yorky had to do to one of his own squires, who was actually an angel from heaven. So Northern Ireland, people don't know this. England had nothing to do with Northern Ireland. It was Wales. And England gets the blame for it. Yeah, it was Wales who was doing it the whole time, because of the Tudors, because of Satan. And how this all started was one of the people from the Tudors went to Northern Ireland and thought that the land was fertile and beautiful, and told everyone, and just kept talking about it. So they went after the place and caused trouble there. But that didn't eventuate until after Queen Victoria had died. So all the stuff they say that happened before Queen Victoria died are lies. There was no potato famine either. There was a problem in England, lack of potatoes, so the person who discovered the potato had to bring them across to England. But the problem in England and Wales was when Satan possessed Longshanks, he did away with potatoes, and he did away with farms, not potatoes. So they had famine there that people aren't aware of. So the Tudors kept sending people to Ireland, and losing them, the locals there would kill them. Then after Queen Victoria died, the Tudors invaded Northern Ireland, disguised as Protestants that were from Scotland, but they're all from Wales. And that's how that problem started. And things kicked off there when people were having a football game and an armoured car parked in the middle of it. Now the Tudors also created the Freemasons. Back in Queen Victoria and King George II's time, and all the kings before then, there was no pomp and ceremony. All that nonsense came from the Tudors. It was a completely different environment. So the castles, when they're constructed, were constructed after Noah's flood, and the place where windows would go had boards across them, so that later on, when the tech tree added the window, the builders could replace the boards with windows. So it was dark inside the castles, and they had to use candles for light. When the Windsors moved into the castles, there was an atrocity. After Queen Victoria had died, Bonnie Prince Charlie was living there. Now, with Queen Victoria, she established democracy in England and throughout the Commonwealth. It was a good thing that she implemented. After she passed away, the Windsors, with 1,500 Wiccans, stormed the Windsor Castle, well, the castle in Kent, which is now called Windsor Castle. They raped, tortured and murdered everyone, and they got Bonnie Prince Charlie's family to lie on the ground in front of him, and they drove a carriage which had heavy weight on the back of it over them, crushing them to death. Bonnie Prince Charlie escaped and went to Yorky's family's house. So Yorky had already passed away during Queen Victoria's time. And then some people who were knights, Yorky's children, went out and hunted down and killed all the Wiccans that had taken over the castle. They went in and they took over the castle. They enslaved the staff that worked there, the maids and the butler, and their families. They threw everything outside and threw it all in the rubbish. And a lot of Bonnie Prince Charlie's family's stuff was gone. And yeah, so they killed his family. The knights that still existed there killed all the Wiccans that were involved and left 4 Windsors alive. So that's where the Windsors family line comes from. So remembering that they had a Wiccan background back then, and Freemasons are Wiccans as well. With the Freemasons, they were involved as well. In Kent, the Freemasons tried to force Yorky's family, who owned some businesses back then, into joining them. They kept declining. The Freemasons became pushy. The family kept saying no. By then, Yorky was in heaven. Actually, even during Yorky's time on earth, they were doing it, and Yorky would say no, and then they turned up with a large group of people, and Yorky killed them all. So Freemasons are an elusive organization in society, and are very, very sinister in their behavior and what they do. On the surface, they don't seem to be a threat, but they are Wiccans, and Wiccans do evil things all the time because of Satan. So that's a bit of history. I'm the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.